down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the savvy landlord as your host.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, yep, around the world, this is your friend, Steve VanCauwenbergh. You tuned in to the Savvy Podcast Radio Show. Whatever you want to call me, it doesn't really matter. What matters is content, education, and ultimately knowledge. For what reason? To be a better person, to be a better investor, to be a better husband. And my favorite, and I posted this on Facebook yesterday, entrepreneur. We need more entrepreneurs in this world. And so, my goal right now in my life at 48 years old is to seek out entrepreneurs and to encourage them, because they're hitting it hard, down and dirty, trying to make business, trying to get their name out there, trying to do all things entrepreneur. And guess what? It's not easy. And they need to be rallied with. They need someone to hold their hand. They need someone to say, you can do it. Iron sharpens iron. And today's podcast is a very busy individual that I just always wanted to connect with and never truly had the opportunity. I would see him at a local real estate meeting. I would see him constantly on Facebook. I don't know why Facebook's algorithm likes to put Wade Svetgoff in my face. I have no idea. I'll be on Facebook for 30 seconds and Wade's dropping some sort of knowledge, or what I see Wade do is encourage so many other people. And I was like, I reached out to Wade. And if you don't know Wade, he owns this amazing company called No Place Like Home Inspections. He is an inspector. He's an engineer. He is a guy that understands business and to help you not get stung on your next acquisition. So no further ado, I really don't know him, and I love interviewing people I don't know. I have no idea where he came from. I know that he's in Oklahoma. That's as far as I've gotten. I know that he's an entrepreneur. He's been in business for 3 years. And so that's my cheesy, wheezy, I don't know you introduction. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me out. I've heard lots of good things about you, and I'm excited to be on the show.
Right on. Well, not everything you hear about me is real or true. A lot of people manufacture stuff. I'm just playing. The goal here is, who are you? Like, I know you do inspections. Whoopie woo. We'll get into your profession, your career. You're going to change the world one house at a time. I get it. So where did you come from? Like, tell us about, like, where were you born? You got parents on your own? Give us some background on who Wade Svetgoff is. First of all, you got the coolest name, Svetgoff, but I thought my name was cool, VanCauwenbergh. Do you sweat a lot? Is that why your name's Svetgoff? Or where let's start there. Where are you? Where's that name heritage from?
It's actually from Macedonia, which is northern Greece.
Can you speak Greece?
I cannot speak Greek, not even a little bit.
That's all right. So have you always been in Oklahoma? Are you from Oklahoma? Where's your parents from?
So raised in Oklahoma from before I can remember. Grew up Northwest OKC, Putnam City School District. Very kind of average childhood, right? Mom, dad, sister, always running around outside, just trying to have, play, have fun. Went to Christian Heritage Academy for high school. Had a good time there. I know it's CHA. A lot of people know it. A lot of people don't.
Is that the school? Is that the school on Britton and Kelly?
It's actually in Del City.
Del City. Oh yeah, I know. I played a volleyball game. Not me. My daughter played a volleyball game over there. Yeah, I know where it's at. They're all serious about volleyball.
They are pretty hardcore on volleyball and football. The basketball team was terrible when I was there. We didn't have a single kid above 6 foot, but we went pretty much undefeated in football and volleyball.
Did you play sports in school?
Yeah. So
oh no.
I played football, which you may not be able to tell from the screen. I played linebacker for about 3 years until my coach pulled me aside. He goes, "Wade, you're 5'9" and you're 150 pounds. After you eat, you can't be a linebacker. I'm sorry." You were just not big enough. So I loved it, but ended up getting kicked out to cornerback. So I try to keep up with all those wide receivers that were way too fast.
So, football, did you think you were going to make it a career
Oh no, dude,
just for fun?
it was fun. I love going out, running after the ball, catching the ball, hitting people, but I've seen this how big you have to be even at a small college, and I'm about half that size. So it's fun. I enjoyed it, but I was under no illusions that I had zero chance of going to college, let alone pro.
So, what did you ever knew before we get into the details here? How old are you now?
I'm 39.
Okay, 39. Did you knew you would be an inspector?
I had no idea. It wasn't
Okay.
even on the radar.
Yeah, I never knew that I'd be in real estate. And then another thing, I never knew that I'd be on the radio show, but that's just interesting. So you were in high school, you played football, you had a coach that was kind of loving, kind of communicative to you, and said, "Hey, that's not your gig." So what made you go to school, college? What happened there? Is that like a family tradition? You trying to make money, trying to get a job? Like, what was your conscious decision on where am I going and why?
Yeah. So everybody told me, "Hey, you're pretty good at math and you're pretty good at science. You should be an engineer." And I was like, "Well, I got, And it was growing up. It was always that mentality. It's not if you're gonna go to college, it's which one are you gonna go to." So just, always parents, it was just kind of in the background, like you're going to college, you're gonna get a good job, you're gonna go work for somebody for 40, 50 years. Engineering seemed to be, that's what everybody said I should do, so I just did it. And so went to Oklahoma State, got my bachelor's in engineering, industrial engineering and management, which nobody knows what that is. So the easiest way to explain it is we make stuff better, faster, and cheaper.
Okay.
And then I stuck around for a couple more years and got a master's in economics.
Cool.
I had seen a lot of people because I had that W-2 mentality, which you go, you get a job, you work for somebody else, you do good work, and in 40 years, if you save enough money, we'll let you retire.
Do you think that was do you think that was ingrained from your parents? What did they go to college?
Yeah, both my parents went to college. It was kind of funny. Entrepreneurship skipped a generation. So my grandparents on both sides were entrepreneurs. My grandpa on my mom's side, he always had a W-2 job, but they got into real estate pretty early. He was very handy. So in the summers, I'd go up. I can't say I was helpful and fixing anything, but I could go grab tools or help do clean outs. So I'd help him. He self-managed and did all the maintenance on all his own properties. They ended up, I think they probably had 40 doors at one point.
So this was your granddad?
Yeah. And of course, I had no idea.
And you were young. You were young, right? So you saw this. Maybe this was a seed that was planted.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a seed that was planted. I didn't even know that it was planted really until after my grandparents had passed away. And then on the other side, my grandpa had done several different things. Nobody knows what this is anymore, but he was a milkman for a while. He went out, he bought his own truck and his own route. For those of you who are below 50 years old, they used to have milkmen. They would drive around in a truck. They would go deliver your milk, fresh milk every day. Nobody does that anymore.
Oh no.
But
Kroger.
After a while, he saw the writing on the wall. He saw grocery stores and refrigeration. And so he sold that and then bought an insurance agency. He was an insurance agent. I still run into people that know him, and he hasn't been in the business for 20 years. So
you had an understanding of entrepreneur but your parents, what jobs did they have? They went to school, they both graduated, right? Yeah. And then what would the career paths did they have?
So my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, so she stayed at home from our whole life, which was great. My dad worked in oil and gas, and he worked for pretty much all the major guys. He was a sales guy, so when things were good, they were great. When things were not good, he was the first one let go and the first one brought back.
Some drama there, like stress and diarrhea, right?
Right.
Because when it's good, and I remember one time it was so good in oil when I first moved here, like they were doing all kinds of benefits and parties and and giving money away. And I was at a poker game and these dudes were just like throwing money like it was water. And I was like, I wish I was in oil. Like
Right.
there was a conscious moment in my life and it was a benefit. All right. So you went to college. What was O State like? So you were a poke, I guess, a cowboy,
Yeah.
one of the two. What is a poke anyway?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh, you went to school there, dude. You don't even know what the poke is.
I don't know. We're the Cowboys. That's what I went with. Um,
I got an orange shirt on just for you.
I appreciate that.
Dude,
Uh,
these OSU people are freaks. I'm not lying. Like, dude, I had this gal has her car is orange because she is madly in love with college.
I was never quite that in love with it, but I'm a big Cowboys fan. Um, so went there, had a lot of fun. Probably didn't pay as much attention to classes as I should have, but we ran around. It was a lot of fun. Got my engineering degree. Then stuck around. It was like I said, I'd seen in some of the internships I'd had. If you really want to go to the next level in your career, a lot of these companies wanted you to have a master's degree. It's kind of we want to make sure you're at least this smart and that you're dedicated before you start moving into upper management. So I thought that was
you bit into this dream of greater pastures with greater degrees, which is greater sacrifice and greater cost.
Exactly.
So you believed in the hype.
I believed in the hype.
I know you read Rich Dad Poor Dad somewhere. You couldn't be around. Some of my friends are friends with you. I don't know how we're friends, but we're friends on Facebook. So when did you start? Like, so you were in college and then you got some jobs. So why'd you select inspection? Because ladies and gents, Wade told me a little bit about a story before we got going here. And he was working for several years. How many years in the business world did you do inspections for? I mean, that was right when you graduated, you went right into inspection business.
Yeah. So,
well, I don't know if you had that on your marketing. When did you graduate? 26 years old?
I graduated in 2007 and 2009.
So how many years ago that? 10, 20 years ago? So you should put on your website 20 years of experience.
Yeah. Well, so, and it's kind of it's a fluke. It's a God thing.
You went to work for keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I couldn't get into the class I needed to graduate. So I just picked up something else so I could be full time. But then the class I needed opened up. So I dropped the class. Well, turns out this class was a class about energy efficiency. Not kind of the woo-woo green, like keep your house at 80 degrees in the summer and, that kind of, compost your own stool and live out of your own garden. Not that kind. It was, how can we go into a business that's spending, $10, $50, $100,000 a month on their utility bills and save it in an economical way, a way that financially makes sense. So the professor for that class had a grant from the Department of Energy. And so what they would do is they would go out and do inspections on these small and medium-sized industrial facilities and find ways to help them save money. So I got pulled into that program, learned how to do inspections, learn how to walk a building, look, see, hey, what's here? Where's opportunity for improvement, and find different ways that we could help them save money. Because a lot of these, we've known this, right? Manufacturing jobs have been moving overseas for decades. And so a lot of these smaller mom and pop operations, just anything they can do to get an edge, they'd have us out. We'd do a free inspection. So did that for a couple of years while I was at Oklahoma State till I graduated.
So you were doing inspections before you were actually an engineer or graduated?
Correct.
So it's longer than 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
more, whatever. We'll figure out the math later. I know, because I can tell you are a detailed person because your mind wants to stop and figure it out. And I keep pushing you out of that. This is why we would be good friends. I need to push you out of your comfort zone. You want to stop and calculate it. I want to move on and hear more stories. So so you let's speed this up a little bit. So you had worked for two other industry companies after college, right? And you
Mhm.
traveled the country and you got to see, what was the biggest building that you inspected? You said how many millions of square foot?
Yeah, the largest single building was about 5 million square feet.
Wow.
And it was an auto manufacturer. And then the largest facility was an Air Force base out on the East Coast. And I'm not going to venture a guess at how many square miles it was.
Wow. So cool. So you got this experience and you got a paycheck and you got to travel around the country inspecting buildings, giving reports and feeling like a really cool engineer. What in the
Yep.
world? How did you become a business owner? How did that happen?
So I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial streak. I did what every 12-year-old does. I convinced my dad to let me use his lawnmower. So, started off mowing lawns, did that for a few years, made the mistake when I was 16 of quitting so I could get, the quote unquote real job, which didn't pay as well and had to work more hours for
What
the
was
same
that?
money.
What was your real job?
Um, I had several. I worked in the office of a temp company. I was a
Cool.
lifeguard,
Lifeguard.
which I
That's a
mean,
real
there's
job.
certain perks to being a lifeguard. Um, but did that when I was in at Oklahoma State. I figured out they have an auction every year in the summer, and they just get rid of all the old stuff they don't want anymore. So, I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, just a guy trying to make a little money. So I'd go buy stuff for cheap at this auction that nobody knew about,
Hmm.
turn around, sell it to my friends.
Cool.
Um,
Smart.
so little stuff like that, or, flip some stuff on eBay, whatever. And I had throughout the years kind of always try to do, what can I do to make a little bit more money? And you're talking about rich dad, poor dad. So when I was at Oklahoma State, I was looking around, I was like, I don't want to work for 40 or 60 years. And then, when I'm 70 years old, think about how I'm going to travel the world, break my hip, and then
Hmm.
I've got a pile of money, but I can't do anything with it. So I started studying wealth. One of the first books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that kind of reignited that entrepreneurial spark. And that, like, if you look at what the company's charging for the job, whatever company, whatever job, versus what that end guy gets paid, in this case, me, like, there's a pretty big difference. And so, what do I have to do to get closer to the top and get a bigger piece of that pie? So I'd done, most of it was little stuff. At one point, though, I ended up, I never thought of myself as a marketing person. So I thought, well, if I could just buy a business with a client base, as long as I take care of them, that'll provide steady income. So put some money together, ended up buying a vending machine route from a couple through a business broker, ran that for a couple of years. So ended up putting some money into it, and then borrowed the rest, got it paid off, and then turn around and sold it, and then use that as a down payment on a gas station, and just kind of saw that as, monopoly, right?
So you bought
You
a
start
gas
off,
station?
yeah, we owned a gas station for a couple of years.
Man,
So I just
it
saw that.
sounds bad like me. I owned a car wash
Oh,
for
no.
not a good, not this was like the hand car washes, but the bays. But that's cool. That's put that in your tool belt. You owned a car wash. I mean, a gas station.
Both actually had a car wash attached.
All right. So then
Turns
you
out,
decided those things don't make money. They're high volume, high labor, and a high turnover.
yes, absolutely. So, um, I was living in Kansas City, working for a company based out of Boston and traveling pretty much every week at that point, um, which was fun. I love traveling. I love seeing different places, but I would rather do that with my wife and kids than just me. Um, so I went out, got the opportunity because I was a remote employee, moved back to Oklahoma where I was grew up, and sold the gas station. Um, and after a couple of years back here in Oklahoma, we got a new president at our company. The new president decided that he wanted his people from where he used to be, but there wasn't enough salary room in the budget. So yours truly, as the newest in, got to be the first one out. And I was looking at a lot of different jobs, and it was it was doing a little bit different stuff, but it was all get on a plane Sunday or Monday, fly out, go do work in a different state, come back Friday some point, which is really hard when you've got a wife and kids. And so just said, you know what, I've always wanted to own my own business. Let's make it go. I got 6 months of unemployment. Let's just see if some doors open and how this works. So
you took the plunge. So you got fired.
Yes.
Or let go would be a nicer way. But hey, I like the word fired. Yeah. So you got let go, willing to sacrifice your whole life and family for these companies, traveling, really having no life in my mind. I mean, I love to travel myself, but I was on tour for a long time and I never had any friends except for the people I was on tour with. This was not the best environment. And then you decided, were you nervous, scared? Did you have seed money saved up? And you just said, hey, I'm going to own an inspection business. You've owned a car wash. A gas station and a vending route. So those are two diverse, which is the vending route's perfect parlay because it's kind of manageable and on your own schedule. The gas station is not. That is a fixed responsibility. So what businesses were you thinking about starting? And then how'd you pick inspections?
Yeah. So, at some point, I don't know, probably 5 or 10 years before I started it, one of my friends had mentioned, because we're always talking about how to make easy money, and he'd mentioned home inspections. Don't ask me why it popped into my head 10 years later, but it did. And so I did a little bit of looking, hey, this is what I think I can get. Like, even if we just make enough money to pay our bills, we'll see if this works. I actually I did start an energy efficiency company in Oklahoma. That was going to be the thing. That's what I was going to do. That's what I had experience in and training. But it's like, well, some of these relationships can take months or years to build, and the jobs can take
long shot in my mind. So you thought of that. That was your kind of your passion. You were trained in this area of efficiency, which I like. I just like the word efficiency. Like, I want to be efficient in everything. And you're talking about energy efficiency, which ultimately saves you money. So, but then you realize you have this other skill set of inspecting, right? Being meticulously detailed and the reasonings behind why things are failing, right? That's what an inspector should do. So you took the plunge and did that business. What was your thinking there? Did you just come up with the name and just started advertising? You realized that the efficiency thing could take too long, right? It's just right. And it's a lot of outlay of capital in the beginning, I'm assume, because you're going to be dealing with very large corporations and they have an image that you got to maintain. So what happened next?
So I thought, well, the actual business will be doing this energy efficiency work, but short term, I'll do some home inspections just to pay the bills. So I pushed hard on both, and I pretty much got nothing out of the energy efficiency stuff. But then on the inspections, it was 1 and 2 and 3, and just started getting busier and busier. And so it didn't take long for me to look at the bank account and say, well, I know where I'm making my money. Let's double down on that.
Okay.
And really, that was only took me a couple of months to make that decision to drop the energy efficiency business.
So then No Place Like Home was birthed. And was it easy to come up with the name? Tell me how you came up with that name.
Sat down with my wife and we were just talking about different things. It was actually the third or fourth name we came up with. I had looked, we wanted to do something about Sherlock Holmes or Holmes inspections, but there was someone had that name that was a home inspector and it had gone out of business and they had a bunch of complaints. So I decided maybe we should pick a different name. So we're not that we're the same business or the same people, just didn't want to be associated with that.
Smart. Well said.
And no one had anything on a anything like kind of Wizard of Oz for all of you, I guess, 40 and up that have actually seen that movie. No Place Like Home theme. So we went with that.
All right, so that's how you came up with the name. So I love you're so like blasé. You're like, yeah, we came up with the name. Was this ever nerve wracking? Like, were you scared, insecure, had fear of owning your own business?
I did. We've always been very Dave Ramsey. For those of you that don't know him, Dave Ramsey's the get out of debt guy. So I knew we had some unemployment and I knew we had some money in the bank. So we cut our expenses to live on less than what we were getting in unemployment. And then just put a timer on it and said, based on where we're at, how much money we have today, how much we're willing to spend. Let's, I'll give it, I don't remember what it was, 3 months or 6 months. And just, if we hit it and it goes great, we'll keep doing it. And that'll be our new thing. If we don't, there's always somebody who's looking for an employee out there. And an engineering degree is valuable. And so I knew I could get something if it didn't work out.
So and that ties into, I wonder where you got that from, that kind of mindset thinking. I learned, my mom just dropped me off in 1992 in Oklahoma. And it was, I know that I could always go home. I can always go back. And you kind of have that kind of mentality. You're like, well, I can always go get a job. I'm a sophisticated master's degree engineer from O State. There's got to be someone on this planet that needs some of my superstar skills, right? In the back of your mind. So you had this level of confidence of what's going on in life, but you never turned back. So has it been roses starting this business? What was it like? And I know that you're in the investor field, which is, I don't understand why real estate investors are the most cheap people I've ever met in my life. But tell me the bulk of your business as a home inspector. Is it, how many percentage would you say retail? How many percentage would it be real estate investors?
Yeah. So I did not know much. I knew almost nothing about real estate whenever I got started. And I don't know if that was a good thing because I didn't know any better, or if it's a bad thing because I didn't know what I was getting into. But I did know one thing, and that's that the market goes up and down. And I knew at different points, prices would go up, and at other points it would crash. And so I knew that investors have always been a part of my strategy from the beginning, because when the market tanks and all your retail buyers dry up, I wanted to be positioned with the investors so that we always had some money coming in the door. Smart. And even though it wasn't going to be as much, we make less money per inspection for working with investors than we do on the retail side, which is why none of the other home inspectors go after investors, because there's not as much money there. Because my friend would argue investors are not cheap, they're thrifty, but
they're cheap.
They're cheap. But you got to make the ROI work. But anyway, so
yeah, well, that's another podcast.
Sounds good. So when I got started, it was just, who's meeting? Like, where can I go for free? Because I didn't have any money, and I didn't want to spend a bunch of money I didn't have or couldn't afford to lose. So investors have, or at least pre-coronavirus, had a ton of meetings and meetups, and you could go and just meet people and talk to them.
Grassroots. It's called guerrilla marketing. So you went to us. You went to those real estate club meetings and just started making connections. So let's get a scope of business. When you started, your goal was retail, right? But you don't have the marketing power behind you, so you had to get out there and basically hit the pavement. Let's just give us a scope now. What's your business and the ratio between retail and investors?
So we do the state of Oklahoma defines what a home inspection is. We do have some people that are investors that will get a home inspection. We encourage that if you haven't done deals, or if you've only done a couple. But if you look at the breakdown between our investor inspections as a percentage of our total business, we do somewhere between 20 and 25% of our total business is investor inspections. About 75% is residential, retail, just mom and pop, Bob and Mary
I bought a house. I need you. And that business is direct related to realtors, right? So you're trying to build relationships with realtors on top of investors. Is that
correct?
Okay. So how do you reach those people, the realtors?
Yeah. So there's a book. It's called The 7 Levels of Communication. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it.
No.
They talk about how to reach people through referrals, right? Because referrals are the cheapest. I don't remember how I found it, if somebody told me about it or if I just saw it, but there's a book called The 7 Levels of Communication. And it's how to get referral business, right? Because we all like referral business because we didn't have to pay for any marketing or advertising. We just had a friend that connected us. So, and I knew it was going to be cheaper to go after, whether it's the investor or the realtor who wants to do 5, 10, 20 deals a year, than to try to go after people one at a time. Because the average person buys a house every 5, 7 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, they talk about, they do a lot of, they call it event-based marketing. So, the most influence I will ever have over someone is sitting down with them one-on-one, grabbing a drink and just talking to them. Beyond that, it's, can I get a room full of people and talk to all of them, right? Because I can only meet so many people one-on-one. There's only so many hours in the day. So like today we had our appreciation event. We call it Thanks a Latte. So we went out, we set up shop at a coffee shop. We invited everybody we knew to come out, get a cup of coffee with us. And we had investors there. We had realtors there. I was able to work with one of our referral partners, an insurance company. So I bought the coffee and they bought the door prizes. So we do a lot of stuff like that.
So a networking event.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So now we understand that you're a business owner, that you're 3 years in the business. They usually say you can't survive that long. So that's great that you're thriving, and kudos to you, my friend, that you're still a business owner, that you took the plunge and now you're rolling, right? Now what's next? What's next is what goes into an inspection. Like, we can go on the retail side first, because there's some folks that are not investors that listen to the show, but like, what does it entail for an inspection? And before we get into that, how much does it cost? What's the cost today, 2022, right? Because prices have changed, but.
Right. So we charge, and pretty much everybody charges by the square foot, right? A 1,000 square foot house is a lot less effort than a 5,000 square foot house. We start at $275, and then the prices go up there from there for the retail side of things. So if it's a larger house, we charge a little bit more. If I've got to drive out, we're doing one in Clinton tomorrow, right? So that guy's getting charged a little bit more than the guy in Oklahoma City, because I've got to spend a couple hours in the car.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then what we're doing is, the assumption is your average person doesn't really know what they're getting into when they buy a house, right? We're all told that, a home is part of the American dream. You need to buy one. It's your most valuable asset. And for most people, it is. For those that do not own a business, for those that don't own a bunch of real estate, the home is their most valuable asset. And so you want to make sure that you get a home that's in good shape and not something that's a money pit. So what we do is we go and we look for the retail side. We're looking at everything. We're looking at the big stuff: foundation, roof, HVAC system, and we're also looking at the little stuff, right? Do the doors open and close? Do the windows open and close? Are there, there are holes in the walls, things like that. And then that way we can provide kind of an overall picture of the current condition of the home. And then that does a couple things for you. So the first is, it lets you know what you're getting into, right? Sometimes people will get into it and say, you know what, like, I knew it didn't feel like a great house, but maybe I don't have a ton of money. So I was willing to accept some things, but it's just more than I can deal with.
Okay.
And then the other thing it does is it provides leverage. So whether you are using a real estate agent or whether you're an investor, it's leverage. You can go back and say, hey, like the AC doesn't work. There's holes in the roof. I've got to put piers underneath here. That this asset, this house, I know we talked about, simple math, me paying you $100,000 for it. And it is worth that if it's in great shape, but it's not in great shape. So now we need to take either a little bit of money off the price tag, or I need you to fix some things for me so that it's at, an acceptable condition level.
Right. That's my word. In my world, is my favorite word. It's called leverage. We're leveraging me as a real estate agent. That's why I use inspections. Because it's tangible. It's actually almost a legal document, right? There's some liability in there. You have to carry liability insurance.
Correct.
For just in case you make a mistake. But the reality, it's bona fide. Hey, this AC unit is 15 years old. It's on its last leg. Mr. Engineer have given some. That's leverage in my mind. When I started this game, did you say the price for the investor, or that was the retail, right?
That was the retail.
Yeah, what's the investor price for today?
So what we do for our investors is it's a flat $200 for anything less than 3,000 square feet. But we're not looking at quite as much stuff.
Sure.
So we're focusing. So for our investors, right, the guys that do this all the time, they don't care about the 3 pieces of chip paint in the back of the closet that no one's going to notice. They want to know what's going to hurt me on my budget. What are the things that, whether I'm renovating it or if it appears to be, rent ready, like what expenses am I going to incur? Because that's going to affect my return on investment.
Right.
So we'll look at the foundation, exterior, and roof, and then we'll look at the water heater, the electric panel, the HVAC system, and then we'll do some general conditions of the home, and then take some pictures of the house, right? Because those are the things, right?
The most critical.
Yeah, it's not the $100 microwave that's going to break the budget. It's the $10,000 HVAC system. It's
right.
Not the door squeaks or doesn't shut right. It's the hole in the roof that's going to get you.
So in my world, you charge $200. That sounds way too cheap to me. I wish I would have known you, but you're telling me that you're going to get into your vehicle. You're going to ride over to this property in Oklahoma City within probably 20 miles, and you're going to take your time, about an hour, kind of looking through stuff, got your 30 years experience. I mean, you've been doing this since you were a junior in college, being detailed and seeing nuances. You're going to get back into your vehicle, get back into a computer, create some sort of a itemized situation and send it to me.
Yes.
Every single effing real estate investor, and I said effing, and I'm trying not to curse anymore in my entire life, hire this guy. $200 for, I don't know. I think why I'm so amped up is because I'm really doing a lot of commercial stuff, and commercial is so expensive, but I hire inspections for everything. A separate electrical engineer, a separate HVAC guy, a plumber. Every deal I buy, it costs me $1,200 to $1,500 every time, just for inspections, minimum. And that word is called due diligence. Huh?
Said we do a lot of commercial inspections too, for whenever you find another deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a deal going down right now. As soon as we get off this, let's make this happen. I'll set this up. We'll talk about that in a minute. So this is great. This is a great podcast for you, homie. Like, not only you get some free marketing from Savvy, hopefully a few people listen to this deal, but you're going to get a job out of it. How cool is that? But the reality is, I had you on the show, man, and I don't even know you. But I'm glad that I got to listen to you, because this, the way you talk is like you're very systematic. Your mind works in a lateral move, and you want to do everything right. And I'm looking for those type of people on my world, right? I think I wish I could do a podcast just on what I'm about to say, is that a lot of people, they miss relationships because they're looking for the cheaper guy, or they're looking for the no guy, I'm going to do it myself. Yes, I have bought over probably 200 properties in my lifetime. I love teaching people inspections. I love when investors call me, hey, could you come look at this property? Another set of eyes. Absolutely. I preach that everyone should bring another set of eyes. But the dynamic changes when you're paying someone, AKA a professional, to do something that they do every day in and out. It's like, would I hire a painter that's never painted before just to cause more dramatic problems in my property? Or am I going to hire the 30-year experienced painter that doesn't need to tape off? I don't know, Wade, have you ever seen a painter that is so good that they can cut in on a trim without even masking it? Have you ever seen that?
I've not had the pleasure. Most of the time we see the guys that overspray and you can just look at the
because they're cheap. Right. And like, Google it up, guys. Go find out. Just type in master painter, no mat or trim, matte paint trim. You'll find it. And it's just, it's, my young kids were like, that is satisfying. My daughter was like shaving pencils the other day. Like, she had every single, like, a box of pencils shaved or sharpened. I'm like, she's like, this is satisfying. Satisfying to me to see a blue collar 30-year experienced guy, professional, paint around a door without taping it off, and it's flawless. And Wade, when I've been observing you for a long time and just interacting with friends, and I've only heard great, wonderful things about you, man. I want people to know you, that you are a professional, that you are human, that you may miss something, but the reality is that you're advocating for this investor. It's really interesting that you only have 25% business. And I guess at that price point, really, it's not the customer you really want to go after, because you're not going to buy it. It's not going to get you rich, but it can be a good base. And I hope from this podcast that a lot of people would just call. What's your phone number? I know this podcast is all crazy now, but what's your phone number? Do you have a company number that people can reach you?
Yeah, it's 405-696-0888.
And then do you have a website?
Yes. www.nplhi.com. So no place like home inspections, nplhi.com.
All right. So we're running out of time, but I'll definitely love to have you back on. But one of my questions that I would love for you to answer, can you help a real estate investor to know what questions to look for when they hire, like, to say they're not in Oklahoma, let's say, or like, what nuances should people be aware of? Let me give you an example. Like, I owned a DJ company, and people think it's just, you just hit and play. Like, right. You're just showing up with a speaker and a laptop and you hit play. Well, back when I started, we had cassettes, but that's another day, in records. But the reality is there's a lot more that goes on there. You have to be an engineer of the console. You have to know the flow of electricity. No one wants to hear in the background, or a bleaching sound that's going to rip your eardrums off, or set up, or know properly how to punctuate on the microphone, right? There's more that goes into it than just hit and play. What goes into being an inspector, right? Do you have to have a license? Do you, what software do you use? Do you have infrared? I had this guy contractor come to my house yesterday. It was off the chain. I was kind of excited. I can't wait to hire this dude. He had a moisture reader. This is I'm redoing my garage right now, and he had a moisture reader. Tell me all the things and nuances that it takes to be Wade Svetgoff. Tell me about it. What does it take to be you? What do you have to do?
Yeah. So in every state, it's a little bit different. In Oklahoma, to be a home inspector, you have to have a license underneath the CIB, the Construction Industries Board. I would argue that home inspectors are not a trade, but the way we're regulated is like a trade. The same people that regulate HVAC contractors, electricians, plumbers, they regulate home inspectors. You've got to go out.
So you got to be licensed.
Yes. Get your license.
Pass the test.
Yeah. So you take a 90-hour class, you pass the test, you fill out some paperwork, and that's it, it's good and bad. It's good because there's a pretty low barrier to entry. You don't have to have any degrees or anything else to get into it. But the bad part is who you hire is extremely important, because the bar is so low that pretty much anybody can do it. And there's a very large variance of skill level. So just kind of like, investors or real estate agents or anything else. You've got people that have no idea what they're doing it, but they're doing it. And, we're just praying that God helps all the people get through that transaction. And then you've got other people that are extremely competent. They do, tons of deals every year, and they're very good at what they do, and they can get through that transaction, without any major issues because they know what they're doing. So the big thing is make sure, who you hire actually knows what they're doing. Make sure they have experience, and they're qualified. Go look at their Google reviews. Talk to some of their, to people who work with them. See what kind of a person they are.
Okay. How about insurance? Do you have special insurance and you have errors and omissions?
Yeah. So we keep insurance on it. We keep more than the state minimum. The state minimum for homeowners is kind of like the state minimum for car insurance. It's a number, but if anything serious happens, it's not good enough. So
Sure.
We make sure to have, much better than state minimum insurance so that way we're covered. And, we're happy to go back out and help people and, do the right thing.
Cool. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then you have continuing education. I'm assuming that there's an industry that you're a part of throughout the country.
Yeah, so there's a handful of national organizations, and there's also a state organization. So there's a minimum of 8 hours of continuing education that needs to be done to maintain your license annually in Oklahoma. But we're always looking at tools are great, and having some great tools like thermal cameras and moisture meters, cameras to look at sewer lines. We've got all that stuff and it's great, but what can you do to train your mind and talk to other people and see different experiences and know things to watch out for. And most of the time, if it's bad, it looks bad. And if it doesn't look that bad, it's usually not that bad. But there's always exceptions to that. And so making sure that, we're on top of what's going on and being able to not necessarily tell you, I might not be able to tell you how to fix the thing because sometimes it gets pretty technical, but, be able to observe anomalies and figure out what's wrong and when you need to have that individual professional come out. We'll see where, some electrician gets in and does some creative wiring on an electric panel. And I'm all about creativity, but not on my electric panels.
Right. So what's the best way could someone, do you teach classes in this or someone wants to dive deeper in this? Like, are you hiring at all engineers or do you, what's your goals of expanding and growing? Or do you have any of those right now? Or what's your company look like?
So right now we've got 7 people, including myself. We've got 3 inspectors and a couple of people that work on in the back office. And then I've got a girl that does our marketing. So we're looking to expand. Our office is full right now, but we are looking for people who want to become a home inspector. So if that's interesting to you, and you like going out and looking at how finding problems,
being detailed, being anal, helping people, there's a big stigmatism with some inspectors in the state of Oklahoma. If you're in the retail side, I've seen this multiple times. The question comes up, who'd you hire for your inspector? Because that could either make or break a deal. And of course, we could talk about that on another podcast. But the point is, you have someone advocating for you. You have a leverage, right? That homeowner that you're buying it from, or an investor, or me. And I always encourage people to go get an inspection because it's documented, it's in writing, and there's no way to go around it. Look, there's something wrong with the AC. Either you're going to get a reduction or you're not. It's either you're going to buy a house or you're not. I love it when I'm selling a property, retail, it needs a new roof. Who says it needs a new roof, right? We're not going to give you a new roof. You could buy it with the roof it is, or we can renegotiate, or you can move on. I mean, I think that's just the power of having professionals on your team. And I feel that same way about attorneys. It's like, I don't know the law to the T, and I don't have enough experience to draft the best joint venture agreement, but I know someone that does. And that person for home inspections is Wade Svetgoff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am going to help this guy change your world because you've been too cheap for $200. I'm telling you, I cannot wait to get off the phone and tell you about this acquisition I'm in the middle of because I have not hired anyone yet. And actually, you know what I'll do? I will hire Wade, and then I will tell you how my experience was with Mr. Wade here, Mr. Svetkoff. How's that pressure? Just so you know, I have almost 250,000 downloads.
Nice.
So, yeah, we just hit that not too long ago. 7 years in the making for the radio show. Now, we only have about 100 people a day listen to it, but we have about between 3,000 to 5,000 people a month listen to the podcast, and it just keeps growing. And I'm just honored to be a part of that. And I think it's a great platform. One is to educate. And I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that you learned something today, learned the power of an inspection, learn that you can hide behind their little document, and also learn that it could bust a deal too. And as I said earlier, I remember I was in the retail world for about 2 minutes, and when someone would hear this name, the deal's busted. And that other inspection company, they may take pride in busting deals, just like attorneys love to bust contracts, and that's just who they are. But that doesn't have to be who you need to be. The goal is to buy the right asset or the right home and feel comfortable about it. And I think you need to hire a professional. That's where I'm at. Maybe it's my wisdom. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's just because I've been burned way too many times. And one story twice has come into my mind. And maybe Jesus wants me to tell you this, but there was a 5-plex that I bought in Mesa Park. It sounds amazing. Mesa Park. Yep. 3 units on the front and a basement that I could have converted, and then 2 units in the back. And this is like kind of back in 2010. I don't know. This is a long time ago. And banks were just giving me money. And I was like, yes. And I was so cocky and dumb. I walked through this property. I bought it. It was in a trust. I thought I saved the world. I thought, they listed it for 210 or 255. I called the realtor that day. It's 210. But we'll sell it to you for 170. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so good. Oh God, Steve VanCauwenbergh, the savvy somebody. I closed that deal. That was my only inspection. There was tenants in there. I walked this property. I went over there to start painting the exterior. I walked around the back 2-story garage apartment, and all the bricks were off.
Oh no.
All the bricks fell off. And literally I had diarrhea. And this is when I was young. This got to be 15, 20 years ago. And I had diarrhea. I was like bummed. I think I was actually in college during this time. And there was another one of these, exact same thing. I bought 2 houses from a wholesaler. It was off of Portland. I just sold those. That was over 10 years ago. And I negotiated the price, and then we're good. And then I walked around the side, and all the bricks have fallen off. And it was not because someone pulled them off. There was a foundation problem that dropped them off. And that $200, I mean, that whole transaction, that the second one, the first one, I sold that property because I was way over my head because I would have known an inspection. And since that time, I didn't learn my lesson. I bought that second one, and I ate that 5 Gs, and I did it with my own contractors, but it was just, and we didn't even re-brick it. We just reframed it and put some hardy board on it. It's ghetto. I sold it. But I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, I have always hired some sort of inspection, and I didn't know Wade, just to be honest with you, I was paying a really old retired inspector for $200, and I just felt like he was giving me some deal of a lifetime. And he was like, he wasn't giving a thorough report. He would just go check it out, do what you just said, and then just call me and say, hey, this is what I'm really thinking. This is what I really see. Without digging ditches and going under the property, I think you're going to be okay. I think you should walk away. I mean, you don't have to take that inspector's advice, but it's definitely comforting to know that either you're on the right page or you miss something dramatically. And I'd rather know missing something dramatically and $200. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, put in your business model an inspection. I put in my business model inspections because they're plural now, because of the properties that I deal with. And I always put in new lock fee. I always change out locks. I know it's going to be $50. I always add cameras in there now. I know that's going to be a cost. I know that I have an acquisition cost. Add the inspector, may it be in your market, around the world, whatever. Be protected. Have someone on your team, a professional, have things in writing, and you're good to go. So if you're in Oklahoma City, check out this guy, Wade Svetgoff, No Place Like Home Inspections. Wade, I don't know, this was a very unique podcast, but I'm glad that you came on the show. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to hit stop record. And is there any last words you have to say? Anything that you advice you would give, or a lesson that you learned before I shut up?
I was just going to say thanks for having me out. It's been great to talk to you and hear a little bit about your story. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. All right. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.